The UFC didn't just adjust the rankings tonight, they turned the entire lightweight division upside down. Fans were stunned when Paddy Pimblett was handed an interim title shot that most believe should have gone to Arman Tsarukyan. But the real shock comes once you realize why the UFC made this call.
Obviously, you just saw Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim title. Earlier, Topuria posted, I'm dealing with some personal problems, so I'm not gonna fight the first quarter. So the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy will be the interim title, and then they will face Topuria.
Stay tuned, because in 40 seconds, I'm revealing the hidden role Paramount played behind this event. And once you hear it, you'll never look at the UFC the same way again.
Number one contender at 155 pounds is a guy named Arman Tsarukyan, and he's not involved in this fight. This is a makeshift fight. This is as prestigious as a BMF title. God bless. I said I wanted to see Paddy fight for the belt. God bless. But this is a bogus fight, and it's insane to me that it is headlining over Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. On paper, Paddy versus Justin is a fine fight to determine the number one contender to fight Ilya and or Arman. Ilya won that belt back in June. I don't even think you need an interim title fight. Honestly, it should have been the co-main event, 5-round, number one contender fight, Ilya versus Arman, second half of the year. What's the problem with that? And now what you just said, because he reiterated this in the Instagram Live, the winner of this fight is going to fight Ilya. What happens to Arman? Arman's going to have to fight who? What is going on? What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at
the backlash was instant. Fans and analysts blasted the UFC for setting up Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight title at UFC 324, while Arman Tsarukyan, the top contender, was left completely sidelined once again.
First ever time when we fought in January, the earliest I've ever fought. It's gonna ruin my Christmas dinner and my birthday because I'm 31 like 3 weeks before it. But it's all going to be worth it when I lift that real title above my head, and Paddy the Baddy is a world champion, and 2026 is going to be the biggest year of my life. I am coming for that interim title, then I'll be making it the undisputed title when I come and beat Ilya Topuria up and take the undisputed title. And then little posh boy, if he manages to fight in that time, because he likes sitting out and saying he's got a sore back, if little posh boy fights in that time and keeps his ranking, I'll punch his head in as well.
But Paddy Pimblett isn't bothered at all. He's already planning his massive 2026 run, win the interim belt, challenge Ilya Topuria for the undisputed title, and then face Arman afterward, if Arman actually steps up as he puts it.
Sue the guy. He sat patiently, he went out there, he steamrolled right through Dan Hooker, he did exactly what he had to do, he did what Khamzat and Islam did not do, he finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion, and now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind. And he's not even next, apparently. Now, of course, everything can change. Nothing really means anything. They make up the rules as they go along. But to put Justin and Paddy in the interim title slot and then have the winner of that fight Ilya is insane to me. And worse than that, because we have seen interim title fights that have felt a little fugazi. I cannot believe that they are headlining this card with that fight.
Justin Gaethje, on the other hand, is fired up. He called this fight his final run at glory before retiring and thanked both the UFC and Paramount Plus for giving him this moment. He promised absolute chaos, a violent display, and a performance fans will never forget.
You are gonna hollow out your product doing it like this long enough. It's not just that you're not meeting expectations, you're just not. The fight business has always been one of manipulation. The fight business has always been one of the promoters massaging stuff to get what they want. It's a part and parcel of what they do. This is hardly some new practice, right? But it feels like there are moments in time where you can't really f around with that. And that's kind of what we're getting here. We're getting a lot of that. We're getting fights where there's obvious ways to go a different direction and they just don't go that direction, clearly because they've got some other aim in terms of how they want to generate revenue. They're just extracting wealth out of the bout rather than matchmaking for a real clear sense of who's the best.
Meanwhile, Arman Tsarukyan isn't staying silent. He vented his frustration online, questioning how Gaethje versus Paddy became the UFC 324 main event, while he, the rightful #1 contender, was left watching in disbelief from the sidelines.
Ilya is going through a divorce right now, so of course that's a tough time for anybody, and it is very, very distracting. You can't focus on a fight in the training camp, and certainly an opponent when you're going through a divorce. So I'm certainly not going to talk about that any more than what I have done there. Ilya, we wish you nothing but the best.
Ilya has expressed interest about moving up and maybe trying to face Makhachev. How realistic is this scenario, do you think? Does it leave Tsarukyan in limbo at lightweight?
Stupid. He's not moving up. Like, come on. There's too many horses in the stable at 170.
I'm moving up.
Yeah.
Is he trying to run from Arman? Is Ilya running from Arman?
I do think so.
Oh,
okay. That's legit.
Hello.
But with that said, I think that Ilya Topuria.
Who wouldn't want to run from Arman? Have you seen him before?
I'm running from him currently. I don't even know the guy I'm running from.
I do think Ilya Topuria is the highest skilled fighter in the UFC right now, but I do think he is threatened by Arman. Arman's big, he's strong, he's great at the weight class, his boxing is clean, great grappling. It's a tough fight for him to where he can go to 70s. Maybe he doesn't get the win. It doesn't make sense to me. The only fight for Ilya Topuria right now is Arman.
Ariel Helwani jumped into the conversation, calling the Gaethje versus Paddy matchup a random BMF-style booking with no real logic, especially since Ilya Topuria is still the active champion.
Well, first off, my hat goes off to Ilya for doing that, because a lot of fighters would be like, no, I'm going to hold on to it and make everybody wait. So my hat's off to him for pulling that, the Jamal Hill and the Yuri Prohashka, right? Like saying, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let these other guys fight for it and let them shake things out the way it needs to shake out. So even though he's not relinquishing the belt, he is letting somebody fight for the interim belt. So my hat's off to him for doing that. And when you have personal problems, you're not going to be able to fight well. And he understands that. So hats off to him for also recognizing that and not just trying to push through, because typically we'd be like, oh man, he should be fighting anyway. But the fact that he's recognizing that he's not going to be able to give us his best work and he needs to sit out for a while, hopefully things get better for him. And I'm wishing him all the luck and success in getting those things behind him so he can come back and fight.
Helwani also questioned how the UFC could ignore Arman's dominant win over Dan Hooker, knowing he's fully recovered and waiting for a title shot. He said the UFC clearly chose hype and popularity over skill and merit.
I know someone who's not happy, and I'm sure that's Arman Tsarukyan, right? I'm sure he believes he deserves to be in this fight, and he was saying even after the win, like, didn't take any damage. If they want me to fight in January, that's when he's being asked about Ilya, but I'm sure if they called him to fight either of these guys for an interim belt, he would have done it.
And it's unfortunate too, because we put this burden on these fighters, but it says a lot though. It says a lot about the direction that Paramount wants to go with the UFC, really. It says that, listen, we want guys that are going to bang. And it's an unfair burden that we put on fighters to say, we want you to win, be successful and win it. And you also have to entertain us by putting your neck on the line and taking a lot of chances and taking damage in the process. Because when you got guys like Justin Gaethje, that's what they do, but they're fan favorites. A guy like Arman Tsarukyan might not be a fan favorite because he's so grappling oriented.
He went even further, calling the whole idea of an interim champ going on to face Ilya ridiculous. Like the UFC spun a wheel, picked 2 random names, and called it a title fight.
So it's kind of telling of where the direction of where they want the UFC to go, because they're trying to get eyeballs, man. Without eyeballs, the sport goes nowhere. So for Arman Tsarukyan, he might have to sit out for a little bit, but he definitely deserves it, and his time is coming. It's just, I think right now Paramount and the UFC is kind of establishing that, we're going to want some entertainers in there, and if you're not entertaining us, if entertainment is not a part of your priority, then that might be an issue.
Analyst Luke Thomas added his voice to the firestorm, agreeing that fan outrage is completely justified. He warned that choices like this slowly destroy the integrity of MMA, turning it into an entertainment show instead of a true sport based on ranking and performance.
But this is a very, very tough competitive matchup. Now, Justin Gaethje is no spring chicken. I think he's 36 years old. But you know what you're going to get with Justin Gaethje. Yes, of course, against Max Holloway at UFC 300, he got knocked out. He got embarrassed. He got face planted. I tell you what, it was a shocking scene, okay? But that's not normally what happens with Justin Gaethje. He is one of the most exciting fighters. They do call him the human highlight reel for a reason. He's got great wrestling, but the boxing, the striking, striking, the leg kicks, the punch power that he has. I'm telling you, this man is no joke. And neither is Paddy Pimblett, right? We saw last time against Michael Chandler, he is the real deal. He absolutely smoked him. He's undefeated in the UFC. He put a beating on Michael Chandler.
In the end, it looks like the UFC bowed to Justin Gaethje's star power, when fans are just getting started voicing their anger. Drop your thoughts below on this entire situation, and if you want non-stop UFC updates, explosive fight analysis, and drama-packed breakdowns, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. The fights don't stop, and neither do we.